You're welcome to our second practical session on C++. In this section, we're going to look at variable declaration and initialization, and we're going to use the IDE code blocks for this session again. Don't forget, let's quickly launch our code blocks by double clicking the code blocks. After we launch the code blocks, we create a new project by double clicking again. And in the new project, we select the console application, and then we move on to C++ and we title the project. So this is for the sake of my viewers on the YouTube project 2. So we have YouTube project 1 that dealt with the output syntax in C++. We go to next and click on finish. Now, in this, we're going to have at the project panel area the sources. We click on the plus sign, and then we have a default code in the main file. Okay, and don't forget we dealt with the many of these various line of statements found here in our previous lessons. Now in today's lesson, we're going to deal with variable declaration and initialization. As a matter of fact, in our previous section, we saw how we could print to the console, but to tell you the truth, programming extends beyond printing to the console. C++ has been seen as a useful programming language in the development of several significant applications. One of the popular applications that C++ was involved in its creation is the Chrome, which is a browser for our use. As students starting to write your name to the console with a special character symbol with letters, writing numbers on the console, creating objects with a special character symbol is a good start. However, it is not enough. And so you need to build on this very foundation of printing to the console and doing a great deal of tough work. To continue with that, we want to look at this session as variable declaration and initialization. To declare variables for our use in the program, we will need the data type. We need data type and the variable name. Variable name. So we need data type, variable name with a terminator. So we need data type, variable name, and a terminator. These are the three things we need to declare a variable. And we have seen data types as int, used to store positive and negative odd numbers, as a float, which is used to store floating values, as as double, which is also used to store floating values or values that involve decimal parts. Then we have string. String is used to store a sequence of characters. We have character, which is used to store a single unit symbol in programming. Then we have bool, which we know as boolean, used to store two logical values, which is true or false. So these are the various data types we have in C++ for our use. In the case of the integer, we can have int play score. Okay, you can see play score will usually have positive O number value. Okay, we can have I score, we can have age. I've not seen a person with a fraction in this or a age. We can have a day number, we can have year, we can have month number stored as integer values. Okay, So for the case of this particular exercise, we want to use play score as the integer value, and then we terminate it. We terminate it. In the case of our float, we can have float price, okay, price of fuel, or yes, so in this case, fuel price or just price, and then we go in ahead to terminate that. In the case of double, going to have double salary, okay. We can have double area, okay, area of a square, area of a circle. We can have double radius, we can have double width, perimeter, length, breadth, and so on and so forth. Okay, so any value you're going to work with that will have fractions or decimal values, you can go with either float or double. The next, and then don't forget to terminate this one as well. The next one we look at is a string. String can be string your name, it can be your first name, your last name, your middle name, or your address, the work you do, your job, your career, and so on and so forth. So in this case, we have string user name, okay, and then we terminate. That of the character, as I explained earlier, is used to store single symbol or unit in our program. And so for character, we can have gender, and we can have the first initial of a user. We can have a grade. We can have end of a message, which will usually be a full stop or a terminator or exclamation mark. Okay, so in this case, we want to use gender. Okay, and then the last data type which we want to look at is the bool. Bool is used to store two logical values, is that true or false. So we can have is active user. Okay, it's active user to determine if a user is active. It can either be true or false. Okay, you can test if a message has been sent. Is message sent? It can also be true or false. Is log in true or false? Have you saw the consent of the user? It can only be true or false. So for the sake of this exercise, we want to use is active user. Now we are already familiar of how to print to the console. So let's quickly do a see out and print play score to the console. Play score to the console. Okay. Play score to the console. Now let's just give it a try and then build and compile. You can try. Okay, this line, sorry, it's not needed. That was the generic syntax I was providing. So we go ahead and then, okay. Now you can see several warnings in our code because some variables have not been used. But the most important thing I want us to look at is the warning at line 13, which says that play score may be used but uninitialized in this function. Okay, what this means is that all these variables that have been declared, we will first have to assign initial values to them before we can continue its usage. Initial values must be assigned to variables declared before its usage. In some cases, some compilers will enable you to compile successfully, and then once you run, you're going to have garbages assigned to these variables. Even though they are warning signs, let's see what we can see as a output to our console. So I'm going to see 720860. That would mean that a certain value has been assigned to my price, and I don't want that. Okay, and so that will continue the study to how to initialize values to the variables, or how to assign values to our variables. And that is what we mean by initialization. Initialization of variables is the use of assignment operator or the input syntax to assign initial values to our variables declared. There are two major types of initialization in C++, that is the static and then the dynamic. The static is where we use the assignment operator. The assignment operator is the equal to sign, and then now I can assign a value. This is supposed to be an integer value. So for the place call, I could have 2 as an integer value, and then for price of fuel, I can have a liter to be 15.35. Okay, and then for salary, I could have 5,000 and some 5,000 with some decimal values. Okay, and then the username could be your name, and that is my name, Abna. Abna. Okay, and then the gender here is female. Okay, so you can see that in the case of a string, we have introduced double quotation marks. Okay, that is to mean that Apna is a string, and that of a character, we have introduced a single quotation mark. Okay, and is user active? Yes, that's so true. All right. So now when I say see out place call and then I compile, since we are not printing values for the rest, that is why we are having the warning sign. But when I compile, you can see that this time I'm having 2. Okay, I'm having the output as 2. All right, I can go ahead and then print the I can go ahead and print the values for the rest of the variables. But don't forget, this is just the static way of initializing variables. This is the static way of initializing variables. So we can print the price of the fuel here. Okay, we can go ahead and then print that of salary, and so on and so forth. So you can continue with this exercise and print the rest of the variables and see how variable declaration and initialization works. Thank you very much, and continue to share the link, like the link, and then comment on this topic. Thank you.